Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's not your average Josh back here for another movie review, and today I'm talking about Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre, the new Guy Ritchie film. Before I get into my review, I do want to say hit that like button, hit that comment button. If this is your first time watching any of my videos, hit that subscribe button as well. You can follow me on TikTok, you can get me on Snapchat where I'll post content similar to this, but for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. So again, I appreciate all the support, but let's get into this review of Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerre. Special Agent Orson Fortune and his team of operatives recruit one of Hollywood's biggest movie stars to help them on an undercover mission when the sale of a deadly new weapons technology threatens to disrupt the whole world order. Now, if that doesn't sound like the most generic spy espionage James Bond type film ever, then I don't know what does. But nah, seriously, yeah, this is the new Guy Ritchie film, as I mentioned. It's written by Guy Ritchie along with Evan Atkinson and Marn Davies, and it is, of course, returning Jason Statham as Orson Fortune. Aubrey Plaza is also in here, which I really love to see her in a Guy Ritchie film as Sarah. You had Carrie Elwes as Nathan, kind of the head of this operative team, I guess, if you will. Hugh Grant is also really great in here as eccentric billionaire type named Greg, who is involved in this whole criminal happening that is going on in this movie. We also have Josh Hartnett in here as Danny, who I really was happy to see in here as well. Him and Aubrey Plaza, seeing them in a Guy Ritchie movie, just it kind of warmed my heart. I really have always had an appreciation for Josh Hartnett. I haven't seen much of his career, to be honest, but Halloween H2O is honestly one of my favorite Halloween movies. I can always go back to that one. I love the vibe of that one. I love Josh Hartnett's performance in that. I've also seen him in the movie 40 Days and 40 Nights. I thought he was really good in that as well. So seeing him in this, obviously really only having seen those two movies that I can remember, it is really great to see him as an older actor now playing this role. Although I will say his character overall, I was really hoping that he was more of an actual part of the crew of operatives here. When I saw the first trailer, I really did think he was a part of the team. But then, of course, with this movie, it being revealed now, they've shown in more trailers recently, that he is just this kind of Hollywood star that is really spoiled, conceited, pretentious, and doesn't know anything about spy espionage. Is really just used to get into this big party where they're trying to figure out who the buyer and seller of this technology is that they're very vague about for really the first half of this movie. But once I settled into his character, I will say I did enjoy what he was doing with it. I just had to kind of accept it because I was really hoping he was going to play this more of a straight guy, as I said, part of the team. But again, once I got past that, he was really good in his role here. You also have Bugsy Malone as JJ in here, who is another small part of the team, I will say. Overall, I did enjoy this movie for the most part. I will say it's definitely in the middle at best of my Guy Ritchie films, though. It is a film that is seemingly very forgettable to me already. It's a fun movie, but I do think there are some limitations with it. The movie really does get right into the action here, and while I appreciate that, you don't have a lot of time at all, really any time much at all, to get to know these characters. And I think it's kind of a catch-22 with this movie because I appreciate that for what this movie is. I think that is very good, and it really benefits the movie in a way for that, because there is this very fast breakneck pace that this movie has that really has this kind of youthful energy about it, where you're constantly going from one thing to the next, and it just feels kind of like a classic spy espionage film where you don't have to know much about it. You're just having fun with the movie. You just know the names of the characters, and then the dynamic they have after that is really fun. The banter that they have, it's all very fun within it. Aubrey Plaza has a lot of great little jokes, especially a back and forth with her and Jason Statham in this movie. I thought was really good, actually. Their chemistry, I didn't quite know how it was going to go, but it was really played very well. You had some little Aubrey Plaza mannerisms in this movie, but you also had her own little unique style that was kind of new in this movie from what I've seen from her. But again, there was something that was holding me back overall in this movie with being completely connected to these characters, because like I said, you really just kind of know their names and the surface level of who they are in this movie. You don't really get a sense of who they are in life, like what was their background like. And again, it's kind of a catch-22 with this movie, because I appreciate this movie for that, because when you're watching it and you're having a good time with it, you don't necessarily need to know any of that stuff. You don't for this story, but it just kind of would have been nice, I think, overall. And that's just kind of a little bit of, I guess, more of a nitpick for me. But really, this movie is fun. It's a blast. This movie does kind of have a basic explanation, though, at the beginning of this movie. It's very a basic scenario. I will say some type of criminals steal this expensive technology that could be a danger to the world, and they're very vague about it for the first half of the movie. And I was a little worried about that, but I will say the second half of this movie really does redeem a lot of what could have been the lesser quality of this movie. They do have an eventual better explanation for what the actual technology is, how it's being used, and it does come into play with the overall plot. But there are a few times where the movie just goes in directions where it's like, oh, okay, that just kind of feels convenient. It just felt like something that, oh, okay, this is the direction that this movie needed to go so we can get to this point. And there were just moments in the movie where you're just kind of going with the flow. But I will say the action overall is very well done. Maybe the best thing about this movie, they didn't have too much like huge action set pieces or explosions or anything. But there was just a few really great moments, especially a moment where Aubrey Plaza and Josh Hartnett are in a high-speed chase, and they just do this really badass move where Hartnett spins around in the car and Aubrey Plaza's just shooting out the damn fucking window. And it's just really badass to see Aubrey Plaza looking like the way they got the camera shot on her. It was just really great looking. Overall, I mean, the locations they went to in this movie were all very beautiful. And one thing I will say I was thinking about in leading up to before recording this movie definitely reminds me in a lot of ways to The Gray Man. Now, if you didn't see The Gray Man, it was a Netflix movie that had a limited theater release last year, and I did go see it in the theaters. And one thing about that movie, it felt very, no pun intended, but gray, very bland. There was a lot in compared to this movie. It went to a lot of different countries. It had this very constant, rapid pace with it. It felt very fun in nature, but just there was something about it that was very bland. Like it wasn't as fun as it could be, or as it should be, I would say, especially all the money they spent on it. And there was a lot of great action set pieces in that. I think the difference with this movie is this movie just feels more fun. Like the colors pop more on the screen. The actors seem like they're having more fun in a way, honestly. Whereas The Gray Man, it's like Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. Chris Evans was having fun, you could tell, doing his funny, kooky character, but Ryan Gosling just felt like he was kind of there being the action star and didn't really have a lot of personality to burst out of. Whereas in this, even though you didn't get to know the characters with, a level of deepness that I might have wanted or craved a little more, you still felt like everyone was having fun in this movie. You see it in the direction as well. It felt like Guy Ritchie was having a blast, just making a fun, kind of wild movie. Not a movie that is as intricate, I will say, as his other movies. This movie is a little more straightforward. It's just constantly going, but it's not like you're ever lost or anything. At least I wasn't. It really does follow the pattern. And again, there's moments, especially once Hugh Grant's character shows up, where you have, again, just suspensions of disbelief that they ask you to take in this. And that's up for the audience member whether you do or not. But overall, I do think this is just a fun movie, and Hugh Grant's having a blast as well. Everyone in this movie seems like they're having a blast. Hugh Grant had a really great speech at the end of this as well. Even characters like JJ, played by Bugsy Malone, he, through the first whole half of this movie, even I say the first like 3/4, he had pretty much nothing to do in this movie, and I honestly felt like he was just a dude that was there. But in the third act of this movie, he actually has some good moments himself. And actually becomes a character that is memorable in his own way. More memorable than he would have been, for sure. After this movie was over, I just really enjoyed it. But it's not a memorable movie. I had a good time with it. I think this movie's just going to be that. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to make a lot at the box office. It just hasn't been marketed too much. And sometimes that happens with Guy Ritchie movies anyway. But especially with, so many movies coming out this month, I think this might end up getting lost in the shuffle and be on streaming in a few weeks or something like that, or a month or something. And this is a movie where if the actors were not having fun, you would definitely see it on the screen. It would definitely affect the overall product that you get. That kind of saves it in the end from being what could have been a real mess, I think, with this movie. That's my main thoughts. I'm going to give Operation Fortune, a Ruse de Guerre, 7 out of 10. Still ranked pretty high, I think, relatively, but compared to some other Guy Ritchie films, I definitely have some that I absolutely really love, like Lock, Stock, Snatch is really great. This is definitely on the lower end of his movies, but I think overall, it's still a very fun movie, and I think there's going to be some people that genuinely find a love with this movie, but there's definitely going to be some people that Feels like this is not enough substance, I think, overall in this movie. Still very much feels like a Guy Ritchie movie, though. For how big this movie is and all the locations it seemingly goes to with all the countries and whatnot, it never feels like it gets too big, and you still have that very, that witty Guy Ritchie humor, the dialogue, and I think Aubrey Plaza really fit in there as well. Aubrey Plaza, I've just, since Parks and Rec and the comedy movie she was in, seeing her in Emily the Criminal last year and then White Lotus, she's really just carving out a nice career of different performances. But I want to hear what you guys think. Have you seen this movie? Are you going to see it? Do you not give a shit? What do you think? I want to hear the comments. I always appreciate any support I can get. You can also leave a like and hit that subscribe button. This is your first time watching any of my videos. That's very much appreciated. So starting out this channel, really, I've been only doing it for since the end part of last year, really. I appreciate all the support I get. I just love talking about movies and TV shows. Don't talk about as much TV as I would like to on this channel, but hope to get that up eventually. I'm just usually so busy talking about movies, to be honest, but I love this is my passion, so I appreciate all the support I do get. You can follow me on TikTok. You can have me on Snapchat, where I will post content similar to this, but for the most part, my content will be here on this YouTube channel, Not Your Average Josh. We're looking for more videos very soon, and I will talk to you guys later.